Good morning. This is the Bitcoin Morning Brief. I'm Leah Wald here with Tone Vase and Jimmy Song. Tone, I thought you only had one T-shirt, but it looks like you have two.
Yeah, no, I have a couple. Thank you, Bitcoin Zay, for sending these in the mail. But next time, please don't write Bitcoin Zay at the top of the box. The post office was not very happy.
Jimmy, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I didn't realize that Tone only had one shirt. This is the sort of thing that I don't notice. But
It's
yeah.
like make fun of Tone like every morning now. Like I'm back to my normal life. Damn it! It took this long this time.
You can go back at us, but you're low-hanging fruit on this one, you know.
Yeah, come on. I mean, we could make fun of Leah for busting her knee or something.
Right. Well, speaking of fruit, what's the size of the knee this time?
It's still kind of like a grapefruit size.
Kind of like grapefruit.
Yeah. Hopefully surgery on Thursday, so we'll see.
Oh no.
Yeah. Okay. Well, off here. Okay. First story is Israeli. So let me just go have a little fun first. Shalom, chaverim, hamatzah, wa salam, merhaba, ahla wa sahla. Ana kunna badaris.
Okay, are you speaking in tongues or something? What the hell?
Everyone said that I never did Arabic before, so I had to go for it.
Oh wait, that was
Okay.
Arabic.
I can't tell.
All right.
Well.
Are we ready? I mean, is it okay? Had to go for it. Okay, startup raises 3 mil to build proof of space-time blockchains. So Israeli company called Space Mesh has raised seed capital, not an ICO, and created this protocol called proof of space-time and saying that they're trying to create the original version of Bitcoin. So Jimmy, what do you think about this story? And is it technically possible to do what they say that they're doing?
Okay, so I thought it was proof of space and time. Can you scroll down? Is Bram Cohen involved in this?
So it's saying Tomer Afek.
Okay. Okay. I thought it was I thought it was because Bram Cohen's doing something with proof of space and time, and that's based on sort of like space on a hard drive, proof that you can have something. I'm not sure if this is the same because Bram's. I'm like 90% sure Bram's not based out of Israel. So
Jimmy, I will say actually after looking at Crunchbase. This company is incorporated in North Pole, Alaska, which I had to look up because the North Pole is not in Alaska, but there's a city called North Pole, Alaska. But yes, keep going.
What is going on? Yeah, I'm not sure if they're doing an ICO. No, they're not planning an ICO. Yeah, I wonder if they're trying to take the name. I'm not sure if they're the same thing. I know Bram's project is very interesting. I still have problems with it because so I tell people, like, if you're not doing proof of work, you're trying to cheat the laws of the universe. You have adversaries on any sort of blockchain, and you need some objective standard. Otherwise, it gets into like sort of a political battle, and that's exactly what you don't want with something like a blockchain where you have an objective record. And you have that with proof of work in Bitcoin. You try to do something else like proof of stake or proof of space and time or proof of whatever, and there's no actual objective record of actually you doing work or some objective standard. So I mean, it doesn't really work, and there's no way to sort of cheat that law of the universe. So I'm not sure what they're doing. If it's not Bram's company, I imagine that there's some legal action coming because proof of space and time is exactly what they're doing. Yeah, so very, very strange kind of story. I don't know if they're trying to steal their thunder or do something else, but I find this very suspicious.
Tone, what do you think? And also, they're saying that they're going to replace the ASICs. So just, is this a utopian concept? What do you think about this?
Okay, so here's the thing, right? Like Jimmy has explained on several occasions why anything other than proof of work is basically is futile, right? Because you're not going to know what is going on under the hood to collect the reward that you're probably going to have for people, right? So I'm going to leave the technical argument to Jimmy. I'm just going to talk about the economic side of things. Anyone that says we will recreate Bitcoin either from the original vision or a new vision or a better vision, you can't. Here's why you can't. because Bitcoin grew organically. And if you say that, well, one guy was able to mine the majority of the Bitcoins in the early days, yes, that's Satoshi. And I would give it a 98% probability those coins that Satoshi mined would never ever hit the market, because there is a high probability that Satoshi is no longer on this planet in living form. There is a high probability that he burned those keys. And there is a high probability that even if he still has the keys, he would want to burn them to make sure that no one steals them from him and puts those back into circulation, because it hurts the whole economy. People completely underestimate that it wasn't his economic model of 50 Bitcoin per block, blocks being 10 minutes. There will only be 21 million Bitcoin. It wasn't some kind of a perfect economic model that made Bitcoin what it is today. It was the fact that Bitcoin was able to spread around the world in such a unique fashion that there was no hype about Bitcoin when it launched. And it was worthless for the first year. And mining Bitcoin for the first year only burned electricity with hope that this experiment would actually work. That part of a blockchain is not replaceable. You can't replace that. So this thing would either launch with a bunch of fanfare or it would launch as a dud. And whoever has that initial advantage, while it's worthless for its first year, assuming it's a dud, that person has every intention of becoming rich off of those coins, unlike Satoshi. Like this coin will never be as decentralized as Bitcoin. It will never be as, spread around the world as Bitcoin. So it will never have the economic advantage of being used as a peer-to-peer value transfer like Bitcoin does. And I don't understand why people keep trying. Actually, I'm sorry, scratch that. I completely understand why people keep trying, because a bunch of fools gave this guy $3 million to do something stupid. That is not going to work.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, we'll see. And potentially, again, it's only 3 million in seeds. So that's actually a solid seed round, but hopefully they'll team up with the devs that you were speaking about, Jimmy, and
team up.
If you want to,
space time, it's like not too much of a difference. I think.
If you want to launch this without an ICO, at least they're not ICOing. Okay, I will give respect where it's due. Right, they're not a scam. They're not a scam. Okay, they're not ICOing, so they're not a scam. They took VC money, that's fine. So they took in money from people that are qualified to lose that money. And that's okay. I'm just explaining why this project is going to fail. At least with my 98% confidence level that this project is going to fail. So this is a terrible investment for anyone else other than VCs. And on that note, if you can get the money from qualified investors to, try to create your dream, go for it. And I want to do a shout out to the Bad Virus for his very generous donation in the live chat.
So moving on to other startups, but also Tone, given that apparently you're a betting man, if they do well, would you be willing to spend a week in North Pole, Alaska with the team?
In August. Only in August.
Done. Done. Okay, so this is an official. So there is a CoinDesk article about this. This is the official, which you guys should always be reading official documents. So futures. So pretty much how futures trading changed Bitcoin prices. This is written and published by the Fed Bank of San Francisco. In my eyes, this is actually a really important story because it's written again by the San Francisco Fed, and they have really, really good researchers. Sorry. They're saying that the launch, though, of Bitcoin futures on the CME and CBOE did play a role in the subsequent. Oh my gosh, I can't talk.
Subsequent.
Okay, good. Thanks. You're the host. Slump in Bitcoin's price. Tone. You definitely said before that you didn't think that this specific event affected the price of Bitcoin. So what do you think that they're saying?
It didn't. They're saying kind of what I was saying. It didn't directly affect the price of Bitcoin. It affected it indirectly in the same way. How can I explain it? So look, Bitcoin got grossly overhyped and overpriced between early November and mid-December. I expected the high of Bitcoin to be 7,500 for 2017. We started to pull back from 7,500. I think I said 76 at the time, same vicinity, 75, 7,600. And I expected us to go down to 5K and then kind of, limp into the new year. We went down to 5,400, slightly missing my low target. And then we shot up to 20,000 based on two factors. One of them is, the fear of missing out, this FOMO, kind of caused by two things. One of them is Wall Street is getting in mentality with the launch of the futures. The other one is I believe that a lot of financial institutions, like maybe some hedge funds, actually started buying a bunch of Bitcoin because now some of these private financial savvy institutions can hold that Bitcoin in cold storage while hedging their bets with the futures market and without having to move that Bitcoin out of cold storage nor put that Bitcoin on, exchanges that could be hacked. So I think both of those things helped drive the price into the launch of the futures. Now, once the futures got launched, it was a classic sell the news event. Now, at the time, I honestly thought that my technical analysis had us going up another couple of days, maybe a week at most. I honestly didn't think it was going to be that easy or that obvious that the day of the launch of the futures was going to be the high in price, but it was. That's something that happens rarely on similar news events like this, of this type. I really thought that momentum would drive it up a little bit so that more people get like really caught at the top. So I thought we can go to like 22,000, let's say, right, into the weekend, and then it would be all over. So I don't blame this. Like, it's not like there's some kind of a conspiracy that Wall Street is driving the price of Bitcoin down because of these futures. That's what I was against from the beginning. I think those conspiracy theories are totally dumb. But it makes sense that once these futures launched and they have very little volume on them, and it wasn't that big of a deal, and all that FOMO of Wall Street getting in kind of died out. And then some players started to sell, bigger players started to sell, people started to panic a little bit, and the price went down 75%. Now, I don't blame the futures. This is just a natural phenomenon where the FOMO got out of control. So I just want to squash all of the potential conspiracy theories and rumors that these futures caused the dump of the price. No, the price should have never been at 20,000 to begin with.
Interesting. Jimmy, what do you think? And also in the article, I wanted to hear your opinion, is that they cite that the Bitcoin mining process is a specific contributing factor. They specifically say that as fewer coins become available as a payment method, this could lead and be a leading role in driving its value as speculative dynamics disappear, is their quote.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what they're talking about, but yeah, it sounds more or less like they don't really know why. They're just sort of putting words on paper and saying, we want to, sort of have a post hoc explanation for something that happened. It's always easy to explain things after the fact. What's hard is predicting things before the fact. And if you have no predictive ability, the ability to explain something doesn't actually show that you're smart or anything. You just have a good way to rationalize things. As they say, humans are not rational beings. We're rationalizing beings, and we can rationalize pretty much anything that happens. So I don't really put that much stock into this. And as to your question about like mining affecting things. Of course, it affects things. Mining has been enormously profitable for at least the past year, probably longer than that. I wrote an article, I think about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, about how profitable Bitmain was. And at the time, Bitcoin price was like $1,400. And I was saying, okay, they're probably going to make in the neighborhood of $200 million that year, last year. And that was assuming like a price of, like $1,500 or something like that. It's obviously many multiples of that. So you can figure out like how much money they're making off of that. And there's lots of efficiencies to be had in the hardware supply chain. And, I wouldn't worry too much about that being the floor. I think we're going to stay above the floor for quite a while. You need a lot more competition for sort of commodity-like prices to come in to the mining game, and we're nowhere near that. We basically have one manufacturer that's doing 60% of all of the manufacturing right now. There are others coming in, but the lead times on mining stuff just take a lot longer than something like software. So. This is going to take a while, but it'll get more towards that. But yeah, papers like this, I don't really find useful. It's post hoc rationalization, not much more.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jimmy. Would have been nice to see this, back on around December 10th, not not here in May. And I probably did like a poor job explaining this concept going into December. Maybe I got caught up in the FOMO of the price as well, because this is exactly what I explained going into the ETF announcements of March 2017. If anybody wants to fact check, just go back to the videos of last February where I talk about just this, where the price of Bitcoin went from $760. I remember calling that low perfectly. We went from 760 straight up to $1,300. That was a 50% rise in Bitcoin right into the day the SEC was going to announce the potential Bitcoin ETF approval. And I thought that the people in crypto were like, off their rocker expecting a 50-50 decision. And many people were like so sure that it was going to get approved. I did not think it was going to get approved, but even if my percentage was 50-50, I was still advising people we are sitting at all-time highs with a giant expectation of the ETF approval. Even if the ETF gets approved, it's a sell the news event because it's not like the ETF is going to launch the next day. It's going to probably take 6 months. You guys have overhyped into the event, and the day after the event, when the ETF was what got rejected, I mean, the price had plummeted, and we fell all the way to 960 from 1,300, which is like a 45% correction. I mean, I went over something just like it, and I probably should have used that same logic and reason for the futures launching. I just thought we had another couple of more days, maybe a week. I didn't think that it would go down that day.
Right. Very interesting. And to your point on FOMO, at least I'm a huge fan of Schiller's Animal Spirits and Mandelbrot's Misbehavior of Markets, if anyone follows them. And just that FOMO leads right into it. And I guess just one last thing, because I'm definitely a nerd, is that, hyperwaves, right, are often affected by this wild speculation. You mentioned it, the peak being fueled by CME, CBOE, and also, I think, Bcash. So 3 fundamental things that cause that spike. But this could, I think, personally fuel a strong uptrend to go back to where it fundamentally should. So at least my hope is that, things will start to hit where they should. But
wait, two shout outs before I get aggravated with our next story. Shout out to Dan. Like your message very much, and Leah is aware of it. Thank you. And also, speaking of Hyperwave, I'm halfway through your last podcast with Tyler on Hyperwave. It is absolutely excellent. If you have not seen it, please go and watch it. It is really, really important.
Yay. Thank you, Tone. All right. Well, this one is hilarious. I'll just say that. All right. Binance CEO blasts VCs and calls ICOs necessary. Okay. I'm speechless. He's absolutely covering his ass, but ICO model, he's saying specifically that ICOs are not just good to have, but necessary. Jimmy, I will turn this straight over to you.
Well, I mean, he's sort of hyping ICOs, and it makes sense since this is the Binance guy, and they make money off of having lots of coins to sell and trade and things like that. But yeah, I mean, the idea that a vast majority of professional VCs have no clue about the projects or fields they invest in. I don't know if they have no clue. They certainly do their research. They have people that are actually going through it. Do they know it as well as the founders? Probably not. But I mean, to say that they have no clue is a little bit harsh. Many of them have zero startup experience and don't even have a basic understanding of the technologies involved in their fields. I think Andreessen Horowitz would be pretty upset at this characterization. They're known as a bunch of operators. They all come from like startup backgrounds. So, venture capitalists are a changing breed. I think, that much is obvious. And there are lots of different types of firms. You don't have to take money from the, sort of old money MBA types that used to sort of litter the VC field for a while until sort of a VC revolution happened in the last 10 years or so. But I mean, regardless, he basically compared to traditional VC invested projects, a larger ratio of ICO projects will succeed. Well, it depends on your definition of success, but if your aim is to raise money, of course, you're going to have more success raising money through an ICO. They're a lot less discriminating when the public is involved. They don't look at they don't do nearly as much due diligence as a VC would. So this makes perfect sense in that sense. But are they going to actually add and contribute to society or civilization, or make something useful, or create something that that people will use and make things more efficient or anything like that? I have yet to see a single ICO that has done that. So until that happens, I remain skeptical that ICOs can actually make anything useful or create some value as sort of like this Kickstarter type thing. I mean, there's some potential if you're sort of cutting out the entire investment banking infrastructure of bringing companies public and things like that. There might be some potential there, but those are for existing businesses. ICOs are almost exclusively utilized to raise money to build something without having to deliver anything. It's a broken model.
Right, and we'll see how many of the founders of these ICOs also get taken down as being illegal. Although, Tone, I really like this one. Don't get left behind, right? Tone Coin hopefully will come out soon, because God forbid you get left behind. Now, what do you think about what Jimmy's saying? And also, given that we've been speaking about Sequoia suing them, if you think he's kind of just acting out like a child? Or,
it's actually worse than a child. So I almost felt bad a couple of weeks ago or a week ago when we were talking about Binance, and I said that Binance is an outright scam, and it is to me. Now, I don't know if they are, they're an outright scam because they ICO'd. And now, based on these statements by the CEO of this exchange, I don't feel bad at all for saying that. Can you highlight that other sentence, the next sentence? A vast majority of professional VCs have no clue about the projects, sorry, small on my screen, or field they invested. But he's saying that 13 and 14-year-olds that are buying the ICO token do. That's what he's saying, right? So he's saying that the guy trading this garbage does understand way more than a professional VC whose job it is to make sure that the companies they invest in succeed. Okay? That's basically what he's saying. He's saying that your 12-year-old should be investing, but a VC has no business in this model. Okay? He's encouraging for everyone to print their own money and to launch unlicensed securities. And this is completely ridiculous. I don't know what else to say to someone that, wants to do stuff with other people's money with absolutely no restriction on that money and soliciting that money from anyone he can lie to and then cheat out of. Now, he himself may be the most honest person in the world to get that money, but not the by vast majority. I mean, 99.999% of everyone else that follows him in this is just going to steal other people's money, or they're going to burn it doing something stupid. Now, I see where this is going. I mean, again, I don't know if this is the end of the ICO bubble or the beginning of it. Like, if it's the beginning of the ICO bubble, again, like I said before, it's possible that 100, 200, like 1,000 years from now, we will be the generation as a bigger laughing stock than the tulips or any other, crazy bubble in history.
Right. And this, just ending on this tweet, Susie said, we may soon require all projects applying to list on Binance to disclose if they have any direct or indirect relationships with Sequoia. Sequoia is brilliant. I mean, again, they've been around for a very long time. They've invested in some of the most incredible and powerful companies in the world. I think they are going to rain hell on them.
Can I play devil's advocate? No. Sequoia is not Sequoia is not brilliant. The reason why Sequoia is not brilliant because Sequoia hasn't figured out how to print their own money yet, like the CEO of Binance.
Okay. Right. I guess
that's basically what he's saying. That's basically what he's saying. Like, I don't need your money. I can print my own money. That's what he's saying. Yeah, you're right.
Well, I don't know why they're singling out Sequoia. There's a lot of other VCs besides Sequoia.
No, they're being
because of the lawsuit, Jimmy. They're getting sued big time.
They're being sued by Sequoia.
Yeah.
Sequoia, they had a contract with Sequoia to fund them, and they broke the contract and ICO'd instead.
Well, and I'm sure Sequoia looked in and, saw some shady stuff. But
I'm sure they did. I'm sure. I guarantee you that they did.
Yeah. And I guess just ending on it, right? Yeah. To your guys' points, when you go through VCs, you got to convince them that you've got something. And typically VCs say no. So most likely Sequoia was like, actually, we're done with you guys. You also did some shady stuff and we had an official agreement you want behind that. Also, due diligence takes a long time. Jimmy, you work in the VC world. So as you already mentioned, ICOs are the easy way to go, right? Mm-hmm. But, this is, he is, I do not find what he is saying intelligent at all, but he is going the easy route. Bitcoin sees Wall Street warm to trading virtual currency. Shout out to Nathaniel Popper. Pretty much simply, Goldman started it off. Now ICE is warming up to it too. I see this as all good news. Tone, from as specific standpoint, one, what do you think about the article? But also, can you explain swaps?
Swaps?
Yeah.
Okay. Swap is, there's different swaps. The most popular swaps are like interest rate swaps, where you can swap your, let's say, fixed rate interest rate for a floating interest rate. So I'm not really sure how that applies. Unfortunately, I did not have time to read this article, which kind of sucks. Sorry, guys. So I'm not sure how swaps would apply in this arrangement. Again, I don't understand how the traditional Wall Street guys are going to get in trading virtual currencies other than Bitcoin, right? Because everything else, they have smart people. They have to realize that everything else is just pure garbage. Now, they might be happy to collect the fees of other people trading this stuff, but okay, let me see here. You want to read that out loud, Leah?
Sure. So ICE has had conversations with other financial institutions about setting up a new operation through which banks can buy a contract known as a swap that will end with the customer owning Bitcoin the next day with the backing and security of the exchange, according to the people familiar with the project.
It sounds like they're going to replace Coinbase, basically, right? The customer is going to own Bitcoin, but who's going to hold possession of that Bitcoin, right? That's the big question. And does this article say anything about, I don't know, trading BitConnect and Doge and Aurora coin? Like I hate the term virtual currency in these articles, right? Because are they talking about Bitcoin or are they talking about shit coins or both? And I really wish the writers made this stuff more specific, because because these headlines get taken way out of proportion. And Nathaniel Popper understands the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum with the amount of research and writing that he's done. So it really needs to be very, very clear. Are they focusing on Bitcoin? Because the SEC has stated that Bitcoin is not a security. That's in the legal record, as far as I understand. That came out of the trial of Trendon Shavers from Bitcoin Savings and Trust. And Bitcoin has a futures market. So Bitcoin has been quasi-approved, and it has GBTC. So Bitcoin has been quasi-approved that no shop on Wall Street that is involved in Bitcoin, whether it's trading, whether it's holding, they're probably not going to run into a big law problem. Ethereum, on the other hand, the jury is still out. Well, the SEC is still out, right, before the jury gets its hands on it. So are we talking about shitcoins or are we talking about Bitcoin? Because my answer is going to be very, very different. And if the article doesn't specify, then I don't want to comment on it.
It's only Bitcoin.
It's only Bitcoin. Excellent.
It's only Bitcoin.
Then the IC knows what they're doing. They're also working with Blockstream, so they have access to all of the data. That's what that big announcement was between Blockstream and ICE. So the new operation at ICE would provide more direct access to Bitcoin, but putting the actual tokens in the customer's accounts at the end of the trade. So basically, it sounds to me like ICE is continuing its relationship with Blockstream, and they probably were impressed by the liquid box that Blockstream has built that allows good Bitcoin security in connection with current Bitcoin exchanges. And therefore, the ICE probably feels comfortable with the Bitcoin security that Blockstream is going to provide. So I think we're going to get to a point where ICE potentially is going to go one step above CBOE and CME and actually do physical delivery. It sounds to me like that's where ICE is headed.
Right. Thank you, Tone, for explaining. Also, so Jimmy, I am curious as to your response to Tone's comments, and also something interesting to me about this article coming out is that there's been a lot of news recently about Buffett and Munger ripping into Bitcoin, right? And also Bill Gates saying that he'd short it if he could. But now you're having these powerful.
You could.
Yeah, I don't understand that part. Like he's saying he can't. Yeah, you can go to BitMEX and get 100x leverage and short the hell out of it. Yeah, there's so many ways in which he can do it. He's just sort of. I think he wanted to make a point, and this is hyperbole or whatever. Warren Buffett's quote was even better. He called Bitcoin rat poison, and then somebody else pointed out, okay, you know what? You own a large part of Coca-Cola, and Coca-Cola is the real rat poison for human beings. So who's doing the worst thing for people? Another person pointed out, okay, didn't you at one point say that you should buy when others are fearful? Yeah, so man sounds a little fearful to me. So now might be a good time to buy. As far as this story goes, it's it's all about sort of making money. I mean, does it surprise anybody that Goldman Sachs wants to make more money? I mean, that's just the volumes on crypto are so large at this point that it makes sense for a lot of these companies to actually get in and get a slice of or a chunk of it. No doubt they'll try to regulate it so that they become sort of like the sole broker or something like that. But the fact that Goldman Sachs, Binance made like 200 million in the first quarter, and Goldman Sachs is, that would be a very large amount even for somebody like Goldman Sachs. That tells me that this sort of thing is going to get more competition, and that's a good thing. Like is Goldman planning to like sort of play fair? I don't know, but all these regulatory places that want to make more money, it makes sense. But to me, it's not that interesting because you can trade just on local Bitcoins if you wanted. This is just sort of like for the lazy, as far as I can tell, or maybe for the super rich that need custodial services.
No. So I'm starting to understand this. Sorry, I really should have read this article ahead of time. But Nathaniel Popper writes long articles, and but not as long as Michael Lewis. I still like you, Nathaniel. But yours articles are readable. Michael Lewis, no, it's way beyond my attention span. Okay, so here's where the swap contract plays in. So basically, they're using the concept of a swap contract so that they are under the regulatory umbrella of the CFTC, and people can trade with each other quickly. But ICE is it looks like they will hold custodianship of the Bitcoin itself. And again, I guarantee you this is coming from its relationship with Blockstream, and they are comfortable with holding the security of Bitcoin. Because remember, what the CME is doing, they are not taking possession of Bitcoin in any way, shape, or form. They just have an index, and people are trading, speculating on the price of Bitcoin or hedging the price of Bitcoin with a futures contract that, just settles in cash. It sounds like what the ICE is going to do is they're actually going to be the custodian of the Bitcoin, backing these swap contracts that people will do back and forth with each other. So it's the same kind of instrument as a future, only under a slightly different financial structure where there is Bitcoin backing it up that they will probably hold. So it looks like that's where they were headed. I believe Terra Exchange was trying to do something like this like 3 years ago, back in 2014, and they had a very, very famous, big trade in this format, and then they got busted by the CFTC because it was because the CFTC called it a wash trade. Like they basically, it was a trade, but they kind of, it was more for show than for real. So they kind of got busted on that, which was unfortunate. I like Terra Exchange, and they're a legit company. They're not a crypto company. They've been around for, a decade. And but yeah, it looks like that's the basis of it. But the end goal is the same. It allows two people to speculate on the price of Bitcoin in a regulated financial Wall Street structure.
Right. Thanks, Don. Yeah, I do find this very interesting personally. Again, from a little bit different take, you guys can fight me back on this. Just because even for me as well, I find futures and options pretty complicated, right? And those are the first two things. And so now we have Goldman coming along first, saying they have a trading desk. Now we have ICE, who owns the New York Stock Exchange and others, right? Saying that they're going to do the same thing. And I do think that this makes it easier for the world with the swaps. And again, so you see the financial world really moving heavily into the crypto space, kind of saying, because they mentioned Buffett, Munger, and Gates. And I think it's pretty much saying that who wrote this again? Popper's saying that everybody is saying, hey, these old guys missed the 8-ball once again. So I guess we'll see. Just a last note that they were considering launching a swap contract with Ether, backed out. So, I do find that interesting given probably the regulatory environment, and also having SoftBank, which is a very important, I think, a brilliant Japanese company who even did a proxy trade, right, with Alibaba when they IPO'd, and Alibaba IPO'd here in the New York Stock Exchange. And so, to be determined, but I do like some of these players coming in. Tony, you look like you had one last comment.
I wanna just make it clear that I really hope, and I'm fairly certain, no one at ICE is dumb enough to do a contract on Ether. It's a contract of Ether, right? So it just make that clear for people before they start saying how ICE is going to do smart contracts on top of Ethereum as an ERC20 token. I don't think anybody there is that stupid. What they were probably thinking of hey, we can hold Ether in escrow just like we do Bitcoin, and then we can let people speculate on the price of Ether. I'm pretty sure they have no intention of running anything on top of Ether, because ICE, they know what they're doing. I remember when ICE was just, a couple of futures contracts, and now, like you said, they own the New York Stock Exchange.
Yep. Jimmy, what's the weather?
Well, it looks like there's overnight you can see that, everything will clear. And I've been sort of paying out to my clients for their hard forks and things. And I put 1 Satoshi per byte for every single one of them. And they got through overnight. At around 6, 7 a.m., it looks like a bunch of transactions entered into the mempool. And they've been there ever since. So, yeah, if you need it in the next block or so, you're going to have to pay in the 30 to 40 range. But if you're willing to wait a whole day, then you could probably get in 1 Satoshi per byte. At least that's what I'm doing. Again, people seem to be paying too much, or somebody's wallet or some businesses, they're just paying too much, and that sort of had a residual effect over time. We'll see how it keeps going in the next few days.
Thanks, Jimmy. Tone, we're sitting at 9,200.
All right, let's go take a look at the price. All right, so once again, I've been, also as a quick shout out, I did a really awesome interview yesterday with Doug Polk. I had a really good time. He was actually one of the few people that has challenged me the most in my, views that every shitcoin is a shitcoin. So it was a really good interview, and I might have to, put down my talking points on paper next time. It was really good. Also baited me into a $10,000 bet, and I don't have $10,000 because everyone knows I'm just broke. If anyone's seen my car, you would know that. But that should be good. So definitely go and check out that episode on the Doug Polk podcast YouTube channel. So once again, I have to point out the reality of the situation is that we are eerie similar, like scary similar to the situation of 2014. We broke the trend line that took 3 to 4 months to form after a bounce off the 50-week moving average. That's exactly what happened here. The move up, look how many green candles we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 green candles, with the first 2 being, not barely moving. And here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 green candles. So almost identical. We bounced, back then we bounced into the 30-period moving average, the 30-week moving average, the same exact thing we just did, and got rejected. I also have some Fibonacci's on here. It happened to be that 50% Fibonacci we bounced into, and oh, look, what a surprise. We bounced right into the 50% Fibonacci at 9,900. Like, this is just like scary similar environments. And now where they had back in June, early June, there was a big red candle, and we have started forming a red candle. Now, I have no idea where this is going to end, but until I see some kind of a difference between what happened back there and what's happening now, I'm not going to assume that it's going to end any different. Now, the one thing you can say as a counter argument, you should have, predicted the upswing off the 50-day moving average and the break of the trend line the way it happened back in 2014. And the answer is, well, maybe I should. But in a bear market, I look for bearish and shorting opportunities as a trader. I'm not a trader. I'm a little busy educating you people. However, this is the time to probably take on your probabilistic bet that we are going to break the lows. And I finally put my money where my mouth is. And let's see how quickly I can capitalize on that, even though the last thing I want to see is Bitcoin below $6,000. I hedged that bet on purpose to be in fiat because I want Bitcoin to go to $100,000. I did not sell Bitcoin. Though, however, if you are going to be in New York next week for consensus and you have my direct contact, text me about you know what. Like I believe that we are going lower. I don't want it to go lower. I'm not going to profit from it going lower. I'm going to lose a lot of money from it going lower. Okay. I'm a hodler. I don't have time to micromanage trades at the moment. But on a big scale, this is not looking good to me. And I don't care if people call me a fudder because you know what? You will, I think after the age of, I don't know, 18, I realized that being optimistic isn't really going to change the reality of the situation. It might change your personal reality of the situation, but it's not going to change a global market. Okay. So just because I don't talk positively, me talking positively is not going to make Bitcoin going up. I'm sorry. There is reality, and then there is, well, if everyone was only nice and talked positively, it will solve the problem. If that's what you're thinking, you should really be at the Ethereum conferences because that's exactly what it is. If we all just think positively that Ethereum is going to be able to scale, it will eventually scale. That's pretty much what comes out of those DEF CONs. What do they call those things, Jimmy?
DevCon, they have like they have like a billion conferences, and
right.
they dress up as unicorns with
right, exactly.
like rainbow colors or something.
Right, you dress up. Yeah, you dress up like unicorns.
Tone, did you say DEF CON?
Dev.
Well, so DevCon is actually in Las Vegas. DevCon is the Ethereum summit. So those are two different things.
And DEF CON is here in Washington, D.C. That wouldn't be good. Yeah, continue.
Yeah. Right. So they dress up like unicorns and other magical creatures, and then they dance around, with rainbows in the background, like people, I don't know, doing a rain dance that their project is gonna.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a cult at all. No, not at all. Yeah.
Right. So So you can think positively or you can think realistically. I try to think realistically. I'm sorry you don't like it. All right. Let's move on to the daily chart. So here's the daily chart. The daily chart. I cleaned it up a little bit. You are seeing the countdown. It'll be rough for the sequential to get to a 13. I believe this is turning. I believe that this aggressive 13 was a nice rejection off of the 128-day simple moving average. Now, the 128-day simple moving average has been amazing support for years, for the last year and a half or so. It didn't do an amazing job getting the top here back in February or getting the top here back in March. We pierced it both times a little bit. Right now, even according to the indicator, there have been, you are yet another sell point, right? So once this current candle started trading below the prior candle, this is a short trade. Now, I don't advise you to short Bitcoin. I don't advise you to short crypto. I rarely even advise to short in the stock market. But consider going to cash is not a bad move because guess what? You know where your stop loss is. Your stop loss is the prior swing high and the break of the 128-day simple moving average. And as the 128 simple day moving average continues to fall, it depends where you got in. If you took on this short and you jumped in early on this candle, and then you could have added to your position with every new break of prior low. And if you're only getting in now, or you're only exiting now, your stop loss should still be probably this high at 9,800. The moment the price of Bitcoin falls below 8,800, that stop loss needs to immediately go below your entry point. I mean, you don't want to lose money on any single trade. I'm actually going to put up a video. I did one of these videos where I was like mock trading in real time, talking about stop losses. I should cut out that part. It was at the Toronto workshop on trading. and I should cut that out and put it up there. But I don't see how this is not about to turn into a bearish trend. How low can we go? Well, all I'm going to do is copy one of these arrows. Again, I've been looking for probabilistic shorting opportunities as a trader, at least mentally. And I'm going to continue to put these down because I still believe that all of this up move is going to get erased. So as long as you have the right stop losses and you are only risking 5 to 10% on every single trade. If your trade fails, take a little loss. If your trade fails, take a little loss. Though this trade was never actually activated. Maybe it was back here, but the real one didn't take place till there. I still think that this is where the acceleration of the drop is going to be. The initial support takes place at around 84, 8,500, where it will meet the 50-day moving average. After that, I gotta double check how relative this, how important this trend line is. And if we break this trend line, there is not much support because guess what? We never really pulled back. If we turn around from my 7,600 area that has remained very critical to me since November of last year and actually go up with some volume, I could potentially call this the low for the year. But for now, I have no intention of doing so. Here's the 12-hour chart. The 12-hour chart could give you a little bit of a breather in about 3 candles from now, where it should reach a 9. I don't think this bullish cross is going to amount to much. The moving averages could hold it up, but only temporarily. So I am looking on the 12-hour chart for 3 additional candles of downside from here. And after that, a little bounce. I'm not going to draw the arrows, but you get the point. I'll draw it tomorrow. A little bounce on a 1 to 4 candle correction, and then the acceleration of the downtrend. Can the setup trend line, this dotted line, and this big, oh man, I always do that. And this thick red line, which is my 76 number, has been around for a while. Well, 77 in this case. Can it hold up the price? It's possible, but if it doesn't, holy shit, I will probably, well, no, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to keep hodling. But if you are holding too much Bitcoin that you're not willing to watch go down in price, you need to really reassess your position. Here's the 4-hour chart. This is exactly what I mean here. Perfect scenario, right? Here's what I'm looking for on the 12-hour chart. Getting to a 9, seeing a reversal candle, a 1 to 4 candle bounce to the upside, and then down. This is exactly what happened here. We went from a 9 at the top, straight to a 9 at the bottom. Beautiful reversal candle. 1, 2, 3, 4 candle correction. Well, 3 candle correction if you don't include the 9 itself. 3 candle correction, and then boom, straight down. Okay. Now this is a reversal candle, but as a hammer. But those of you that attended my workshops, you know that to me it's not a reversal candle when it's the 3rd candle in a down move. I need to see this candle somewhere around a 9, and then I'm gonna say the same thing: 1 to 4 candle correction, and then back to the downside. That's the probabilistic move. We are also now in a countdown. These red numbers, 1, 2, 3 to a 13. We're on a 4. Now, as far as this using the 4-hour chart is concerned, it would have been nice. I should have probably done a late night trading Bitcoin. I didn't even realize it. Boom, right there. Red 2 trading below a red 1 off of a 1 to 4 candle correction off a 9 off of a 50 period moving average rejection. This is what I call lining up your ducks in a row. And now that the price had fallen from this entry point, or it would have been your entry point if you understood trading, at 9,300, had fallen all the way to 9,000, I would be sitting on a break-even stop loss, assuming, hey, if you made some money somewhere in the vicinity of 9,000, and you should know that the markets love round numbers, Boom. You're on a break-even stop loss now. This trade should not cost you any money. If it goes back up, you get out with a cup of coffee to spare in your gains. If not, you ride it into a 9. So everything is lining up for a bearish trade. Here is the B-Trash. Jimmy, did you get out of your position? Oh, yeah, I don't hear you, Jimmy.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't get a chance. I was too busy doing hard fork stuff yesterday.
But it happened exactly like I said.
Yeah, it did. It did. I was just like, oh man, I missed the, like I've been going and like paying people out and trying to get trades executed on these other hard forks besides Bitcoin Cash.
I don't remember what I said. Did I say get out at 0.174 or something?
Yep, that's exactly what you said. 0.1745 was the number that you gave
right.
me.
I mean, it went a little bit higher, right? It went up to 0.17899, but now we're pretty much lower than we already made a new low.
Yeah. Yeah, I might have to hold on a little bit. I don't know. We'll see.
Not advisable. All right. Yeah, B-Trash snuck in here. Let's see if this makes it to a 9. In order for this to get to a 9, what's today? Tuesday? On Thursday, we would need a close or at least trade at some point above 18.62. Above that, and then I'll get my red arrow. I honestly don't think it's going to get there. Now, your best hope as a B-Trash bag holder, saying it nicely. Wait, what am I doing here? I want an arrow. Where do I get an arrow? That's an arrow. Here we go. So your best hope now is that, no, that's cheating. I gotta draw it from here. Is for it to go here and then bounce back to the upside by breaking the trend of a 9. I don't really want to see that happening, but your hope is this, and I'm going to draw this arrow, like that, because I will reevaluate when this thing gets to 0.16. And I was going to go to the hourly chart, which I may have just closed instead. What is this? This is the hourly. So what is this? Oh, that's the silver thing. Okay. The hourly chart. Oh, I got these things. I don't want to see that.
Ichimoku clouds. Go for it.
Yeah. I still gotta brush up on that. So here's the hourly chart, right? So there you go. So you're in the middle of a 1 to 4 candle correction in the hourly chart. You'll probably run into this resistance line of the Ichimoku cloud. And, the moment this line gets pierced on the hourly chart, I'm not even sure where to draw this. Let's split the middle. The moment this line, and let me drop the arrow part. The moment this line gets pierced on the hourly chart, it's going to probably accelerate to the downside. You are looking at a 1 to 4 candle correction off of an hourly 9, and it may have already ended. May not have ended. I have no idea. But I would wait for it to go back down below 9,100. And then I would, potentially consider shorting. So that's kind of how trading works, right? You don't trade every second. You wait for your probabilistic trades. But right now I am, because all the other time frames are bearish, right? The weekly, bearish. As of this rejection, I'm turning bearish. Daily, bearish on all metrics. Turning bearish on all metrics. Accelerations here. Acceleration to the downside below 88. Another acceleration below 79. And another acceleration below 6,500. 12-hour bearish for 3 more candles. 4-hour bearish for 5 more candles. And the 1 hour, nope, that's B-Trash. And the 1 hour, no, wait, this is B-Trash. So what is this? Oh, that's also B-Trash. Jesus. And the 1 hour bearish sometime in the next 2 hours. It'll start, but preferably needs to go below that line. That's pretty much it. I know it was a little bit winded of trading side of things, but I don't know if I'll get to do a trading Bitcoin video later today. Maybe I will. But I don't know. I just got on a little bit of a roll. So there you go.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Jimmy, do you have any shows coming up today?
Yeah, I have 2 shows. I have I'm on a panel with Kyle Samani and Tim Draper in about 40 minutes, so I have to get prepared for that right now. I also have a show later.
Is that being streamed, or you have to go somewhere?
No, it's being streamed. I'm calling in, and I'll post the link to my Twitter right after the show. And then I have a show off chain at 3 p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. We're going to talk about how to get into the industry as a Bitcoin developer. I'm going to be talking to a couple of employers, hopefully. But yeah, that's happening later today. Yeah, still doing a lot of hard works. I paid out like my clients on something called Bitcoin Pay, which I didn't even know existed. But you know, little things like that. It's always fun. I'm trying to go and liquidate some Bitcoin interest. Yeah, it's surprising the number of hard fork coins there are, and they just sort of keep accumulating. So that's what I'm working on. Obviously I have my seminar in New York next week. If you are interested in the seminar for Toronto, just sign up for my newsletter before tomorrow. Trust me on this one, and go from there.
Thanks, Jimmy. Tone, any exciting updates today? And also, are we going to be able to subscribe on your new website soon?
Yeah, no, you could. Well, yeah, the newsletter thing is going to be coming soon. Oh man, I want to do my screen share again. But yeah, check out my new website, tonebase.com. The workshop section allows you to register for Philadelphia. I believe a few people have already registered for Philadelphia. Maybe I have to just fix the seats thing. And now, once I make sure that everything is functioning properly, I will open up registrations for Dublin and London, though I do need to buy my plane tickets and places to stay. And so go ahead and check that out. And yeah, Philadelphia, May 19th, and I will be, around Consensus. So you can catch me there. That's pretty much it for me. I don't know what my podcast situation is going to be like the rest of the week. But I will try to bring you, at least 1 or 2 on the records and probably some trading Bitcoin stuff.
Fantastic. Everybody, thanks so much for watching. Again, you can listen to this later on iTunes. Thanks to the World Crypto Network. Thanks, guys. Jimmy. Oh, you're mute. One more.
This song is done.
There we go, Tone.
Thanks, guys. Good luck trading.
Bye, everybody.